Your beliefs, your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. And your actions become your habits. Your habits become your values. And finally, your values become your destiny. So that is the greatest quote I keep reading of our great Mahatma, Mohan Shankaran Gandhi. A wonderful and great evening to all my altruistic family, as well as the 5 a.m. Club family here. Some of them have joined. Thank you so much. At the outset, I take this opportunity to convey my deep gratitude to the complete association and the society for this wonderful opportunity for me to be in front of you today. And when Kabir sir asked me to share the life journey, I've done now hundreds of classes, motivation, leadership, then yoga, pranayam, and meditation. But I never did my, life journey anywhere. This is the first time I'm doing it. So I was slightly, off the track. What do I tell? I really didn't know. So I was really caught red-handed by Kabir. Anyway, I'll just try to, some of the important, because it's very difficult to cover 60 years in 30 minutes or 40 minutes. But I'll give it a try. And I will try and, compare some of the incidents with some leadership qualities, which I didn't know at that time. But now when I recall, I find that, there was some quality or some traits or some characteristics was responsible for each action. So I was born and brought up in a small village, Tanyam, which was in Thrissur district of our God's own country. And I was an unexpected entry to this great world. I honestly say that because I was born after the retirement of my father. And my own nephew, who is my elder sister's son, he is 8 months elder too. So I was a born small uncle, I was born as an uncle. So basically, my elder sisters and brother were too elder to me, 22 years, 20 years, 15 years. So I was born and brought up all alone in a huge ancestral house very next to the Kanoli Canal River. So that's where I was born and brought up, and didn't have any exposure to the outer world because we were almost 2.5 kilometers from the nearest, you can't call it as a town at that time, but just about 3-4 shops were there definitely, way back in 60s and 70s. So I did my schooling from Painur Government LP School, which was across the river. So that itself was an experience, going through a small canoe, get over the river and go to the school. That was an experience of its own, especially during monsoon season, when the flood used to come. It was very difficult to go across the river. So I still remember that canoe person used to paddle about 100 to 200 meters ahead, and then cross over the river so that, you somewhat reach the other destination, but still you keep drifting another 100, 200 meters to the other side. So that was the experience. And thereafter, I did my school in government UP school, Peringotagara, followed by Valapad Government High School, and finally Peringotagara Government High School, which was all about 3 to 6 kilometers away from my house. So I was a total introvert by birth, because there was no exposure, and because of the huge gap existed with my relations at home. So that was a basic problem. And I had a lot of issues as far as communication was concerned. Most of the time I used to use the body language, because whenever My father used to ask me whenever I go for a marriage, he wanted a complete brief after the marriage, who all have come for the function. I'll say it was okay. And whereas my nephew used to always score on me because he used to explain the whole thing in about 5 minutes' time. And he always used to tell me, "Oh, uncle, you learn from your nephew." So that was the way I was born and brought up. Finally, I have to, after the 10th class, I have to join the nearest college because only mother was there. So I lost my father when I was in the college. So that was one of the biggest turning point in my life, as if, the life has come to an end, but life has to go on. So I carried on. I did pre-degree that time because that time 11th and 12th was in the college, not like the present school days of 11th and 12th. So after, I was also forced to take science because my brother was a doctor. So nobody was there to tell me, which subject you like. So finally, I also took science. Then I realized that science is not my cup of tea because I was a sportsman, I was a swimmer. So, most of the time you used to go for practices. So you used to miss out classes. So, the science classes have got, the lab, then you have the records you have to fill. So I used to be a defaulter on all this because I used to be outside for the university meet, district athletic meet, and state athletic meet. So that was a very, very tough assignment I had because at the end of the academic year, the botany professor was very tough. He said, "You will not write the exam if you don't complete the records." Now, records is in botany and zoology, it was very tough because you have to draw. And I was not a good artist. But luckily, my elders, that is BSc botany and zoology friends were there because they used to like me because I was the first person who broke the record in SN College Natika because sports always used to be the heaven of arts and commerce people. So we broke that and we won the championship. So I had a lot of love and affection from my seniors. So they took on my records, and finally I could appear for the exam by them completing the records. So that day I've taken a decision: no more science, no more science. And after the pre-degree, I jumped over to commerce. I did my BCom. So that was as far as my studies were concerned. And then, as usual, when you had lost your father, you wanted to settle down somewhere. So that was a tough job that time because in 70s, late 70s, and early 80s, there was no option other than Dubai. And my mother was all alone, so she didn't want me to, move out from there. So I stayed with her. And finally, after the BCom, I joined for the Chartered Accountancy practice, articleship practice in Thrissur, which was about 25 kilometers, almost 26 kilometers from my house. So that was tough because early morning you have to go, first walk 2 kilometers to the bus point, and then from the pick up a bus, go there, then come back late nights because a lot of places you have to go for auditing. And by the time you get back, it is 8 to 9 o'clock in the night. So it was tough days, but we didn't have any other options. So that was the time. Luckily or unluckily, our coconut climbers, you might be knowing, because our main income was coconut in our place, in our village. Because all of us used to have 150, some had 200 coconuts. We had about 300 coconut trees. And every month you have to, get those coconut plucked because there was no other income. So once you get the coconut, you have to, break it, then, make copra out of it. And finally, you take that copra to the mill, that coconut mill in Edathirthi or Kattur, which was 8 kilometers away. And then you sell it over there. And then you get all the household for the month. Then you have to pay out the milk person, you have to pay out the paper person, you have to pay all people whom you have, my old people would understand this. The present generation will not. understand anything out of this. So that is the way life used to be in our time, because even as a student, we used to be part of the household because there was no other choice. So our coconut pluckers, they came in with a big demand because at that time, way back in 82, we have been paying them 12 rupees and 10 coconuts for climbing 100 coconut trees. Okay, which was a good amount because that time, one coconut, because they take the best coconut. Okay, so one coconut used to cost about 6 rupees. So that was 60 rupees plus 12. That means 72 rupees a day, which was very good because the normal labor that time was about just 20, 25 rupees. So this was almost three times. And it was very well off. And we had only 4 people from our village who used to climb the coconut. So we were very friendly with them, very, very friendly. We used to look after their requirement at home whenever a function comes, whenever a marriage comes, like that. And what happened? They were, indoctrinated by the Naxalite people from Andika. Some of you might be knowing Ajita, who was a lady who was the Naxalite leader that time. So we never knew about it. They used to come every weekend to our village, okay, which was about 8 kilometers from our place. And they used to take evening classes for these people. And they say, or they have indoctrinated them saying that, these people are exploiting you. This is, a very difficult job. Yes, it is a very difficult job, no doubt about it. They even say in Malayalam, kolachor. Kolachor means something like you are, so that was the way they used to be told things, And finally, they got carried away. And first time in my life, they came out in the morning with a notice. We never seen, they coming out with a notice asking for a demand. So I spoke to them because I was very friendly with them. They said, no way, we don't want to talk. We will only, and you know how much they demanded? Double. 24 rupees and 20 coconuts for 100 coconut trees. So that was, it was just not possible because we all were just low or medium middle income class group. So finally we said, no, we cannot. So then we formed a Karshaga Sangham, okay, a small union or association of the farmers, coconut farmers. And then the case went up to the district collector at Ayandol in Thrissur. So we had 2-3 meetings there. Their representatives were also called in. But they were not ready to budge because they knew one thing. Because nobody else can climb the coconut trees except me. Okay. And they knew that if we don't get our coconuts plucked every month, we cannot live. Because, everything is tied up to that earning of coconuts only for all of us. So that was their strength. But finally, when both the meetings got, cancelled, or what you can say, they were not budging. So finally, the district collector told us, then in that case, if they are not ready for any compromise, then what we will do, you can get some pluckers from outside and we will give you police protection. I said, okay. So I was forced to be the Karshak Sangham secretary, so I didn't have a choice. So finally, we went to Palakkad, and Palakkad, we got 3 coconut climbers from there. But the biggest problem was giving them security, because these people used to threaten their lives, because they know it is not going to work out. Finally, the first time the police gave us protection, but then we came to know that whenever something is free, it is not that free, it is quite expensive because you have to get a taxi, the ambassador car of our time, and go to Handikad police station, bring the police people from there. Then you have to look after their tea, coffee, snacks, lunch. In addition, every 1 hour they want tender coconuts. So then we said, no more, we can't do anything about it. So we just left it like that. The second time onwards, we started giving the protection ourselves. But it was quite tough because these people used to go walk outside. And whenever we move from one plot to the other, they used to threaten them, we are going to kill you and things like that. So it was quite tough days. And during this time, and can you imagine how many months we carried on? 9 months, 9 months. It was very, very tough because we were also struggling. They were also struggling because they didn't have any other job. Initially, there were, some aid and financial assistance was given by their association. But later, you can't. And unfortunately, they didn't know any other job. They only knew coconut climb. So they were also struggling. We were also struggling. So finally, I came to know this, and through another friend, we contacted them and we said, enough is enough. Why don't we come to a, compromise and finish this off? So finally, with diplomacy and tact, we had a win-win situation, both parties. And finally, we came out of that. Of course, we gave an increase of, 4 rupees and 2 coconuts. So which was okay because maybe 20% increase. So during this time, whenever we used to have the tea break, we used to go to the nearest tea shop. And that was the place I saw the small advertisement in the corner of the 4th or 5th page, I don't remember now, in Malayalam Manorama, where it is written CDS exam, Combined Defense Services exam, conducted by UPSC. So they have written that for more details, please contact Employment News. They've given the Employment News reference. So in Triprayar, you won't get any employment news because it was a village. We could only get Manorama paper, that's about all. Nothing else. So I picked up a bus from Triprayar to Thrissur. Then I checked in Swaraj around most of the places, but very few places used to sell this employment news. Finally, in East Fort, I could get in one of the shop, that paper and magazine shop, the stationery shop. There was employment newspaper. Then I saw that 2 pages, whole pages were covered on combined defenses examination conducted, the format of the application form, everything was there. So being a sportsman, I had some, intent or inclination towards the army. Not because of, I didn't have any exposure in NCC. I was a NSS volunteer, and I was also the NSS volunteer captain also. So the first exam I wrote after my degree was this UPSC exam in Maharaja's College in Ernakulam. Ernakulam was the only center that time in Kerala. So we had basically 3 papers, First was English, the second was the general knowledge, and third was maths. And unfortunately, I was not good at maths. So I could do well in general knowledge and English, but maths I couldn't do. So I left it. I said it is not my cup of tea. And I came back to Thrissur and, started going for the auditing again with the Balu and Balu Chartered Accountant Company. Finally, it was a very disgusting job because early morning you have to leave the village, come back by late night, and only Sundays used to be the holiday. So one of the Onam holidays, way back in 1983, I visited my nephews in Calicut because my brother-in-law was posted in Kerala State Electricity Board in Calicut. So that used to be my, the vacation place. So I spent about a week there. And when I came back, I got down at Triprayar, Kerekke Nada, East Nada's bus stop. So my nephew, another nephew was standing there on a cycle. He said, Nisar, somebody, that postman was looking for you. And he was coming almost last 4-5 days. So he said, what happened? So he told me that, there is a registered letter for you. So I was also shocked. Who will send me a registered letter? So finally, I said, okay, come on, Sadi, we will go. I just sat behind his bicycle and we just reached the post office. That is the Peringottugara post office, which was about 2 kilometers from our place. And you won't believe, When I was requesting the postmaster, he has already put that envelope back into that khaki bag, because they keep the registered letter only for 7 days. After 7 days, it used to go back to the originator. Okay. So he has already entered that, because 7 days was over that morning. And he has put that cover also into that bag, mail bag. And after that, the transport bus will pick it up and it goes to RMS Thrissur, and from there it will go back to Delhi. So I just told him that I was out of station, and we knew, because this is one of the biggest plus point of being in a village, because we knew each other. Whereas in the present generation, they won't know anybody. Even the person who is staying next door in the flat, you won't know. So that was the difference. So finally, he cut that register. Normally, he doesn't do, because once it is entered, it is over. He cut it, then took that envelope from that mail bag and handed over to me. So it was a brown envelope. First time I am seeing that. On top, it is written on IGS, on India Government Service. I felt, what is it? Honestly, I didn't know the full form of IGS that time, which I knew later. So I just opened it, and I was quite thrilled to find that, I've been selected in that CDS examination, and I have to undergo the SSB interview at Allahabad, Service Selection Board interview. So I didn't know Greek and Latin about it. Okay. So then I was looking for somebody who can guide you. But in our village, we didn't have anybody in the army. Okay. So finally, I wrote an inland letter, because that time there was no other communication. It was only postcard, inland letter, and envelope. That's all. The present generation again won't understand, because even a telegram, they only know the telegram app now, not the telegram what was existing in 2013. It is dead now, no more. So finally, what happened? I came to know from my nephew, because he has also tried technical entry to the Air Force. So I got some information from him. And now the biggest problem, I've never gone out of Thrissur or Calicut, maximum. I've never gone out of Kerala at that time. So finally, somebody told me that, why don't you go to the railway station in Thrissur and you will come to know some news. So finally, I went to the railway station. So that itself is a one-day effort, okay? Because there was only one counter for issuing the ticket, for the reservation, for everything. And no onward reservation that time. For onward reservation, what they used to do, they used to send a telegram. That was the state that time. So finally, after standing in the queue for 2.5 hours, by noon, I could reach the counter, and I asked him, sir, I want to go to Allahabad. So Allahabad. So what he did, he opened that, they have got a big map at the end of the directory, the timetable they have, railway timetable, which is that big map of India. And he placed it on the wall. So I could see, Kashmir, Jammu is on top, and Kerala, I'm standing at the bottom here, So I could feel that. It was a huge map, And then he showed me, this is Allahabad, Allahabad, because it was very famous for a pilgrimage. Yeah, because it was Sangam. All three rivers used to be at one place in Allahabad. So we used to have a lot of pilgrimage people coming to Sangam. So finally he told me, first you go to Itarsi. So I didn't know where was Itarsi. Itarsi was in Madhya Pradesh. Okay. And from Itarsi, you will get another train next day. So first I picked up the Jayanti Janata, which he gave me the reservation. Onward reservation from Itarsi to Allahabad. He told me that, I'll send a telegram. So I said, fine. So finally, in the month of October 1983, I picked up the second class berth of Jayanti Janata. And what time I reached? That was my first outing from Kerala. Okay. So I reached Itarsi by midnight, almost 12:10. And it was very cold. I never knew about winter because in Kerala, we have only two seasons. One was summer, the other one was monsoon. That's all. So October, it was cold. So the night was very cold. So somehow I managed the night on that, there was a concrete bench, you can say, on the platform. So I made myself into a ball. I was a good sportsman. So, and I managed the night. Next day morning, went to the public toilet and got ready. I had only one small, that cloth bag. We didn't have any bags that time. One shirt and one, pant, and there was not even a shoe we used to wear that time. And finally, next day morning, though the Sangam Express time was at 9:30, finally it came after 2 hours. 11:30, the train comes. It was full, flooded, because people from all over want to go for the pilgrimage to Sangam. So Itasi being a junction, all junctions, they used to stop for 45 minutes because the engine driver used to change, the water they used to refill, and all other maintenance used to take place. So finally, I was looking for a place to get in, from the engine to the guard's compartment. I couldn't find any place. So finally, I saw one compartment which is written military compartment. I said, wow, though you are nowhere in the military at that time, you're only going for an SSB interview. I just went, stood there in front of that, gate, that door. So a lot of army people in that, army olive green uniform with black trunks getting in, coming out, a lot of action. So I was in a sympathetic phase. I was just standing there. So somebody noticed me. So one of the Jawan, I don't know who was he asked me, "Kya baat hai?" I didn't know Hindi. So I just took that envelope and then opened that letter and shown it to him. This is what it is. I'm going to Allahabad. So he read it. He understood that, yes, he is going for officers selection. So he said, "Baja, please sit." So that's how I got into the Sangam Express, managed to reach Allahabad by the evening. And that was a wonderful experience. 5 days of interview, starting with your psychological test, word association test, English test. You have group discussions, you have extempore speech, then you have command tasks, you have subordinate tasks, GTO, then you had an obstacle course, you had a snake race, you have interviews with the president, with the board. It was out of the blue experience for me who has come from village. Now, 2 incidents I would like to highlight here because of lack of time. The first one was when they started the group discussion, I find people have started talking in Hindi. And Mallu, Hindi illa. So I realized that, what will I do now? So I just kept listening and, I did a summing up towards then without knowing what was others talking. But the second subject, what I did, I started, with the introduction and do a conclusion towards the end. So that's how I managed the show, And the second experience was in the obstacle course. It's again a wonderful thing. 10 obstacles were there, okay? Starting from the least difficulty to the higher degree of difficulty. So they had given points 1, 2, 3 till 10. So the simple ones used to get low points, whereas the difficult one, like Tarzan swing, it was 10 points. Then you had vertical rope, which was 9. So like that, they had 10 obstacles. So they used to give us 3 minutes, okay? Now 3 minutes, I was very good because I was a swimmer, I was a coconut climber, I was an athlete. So I did everything very fast by about 1 minute plus, and I had a lot of time. So what I did, you can repeat. So I started doing the Tarzan swing 3-4 times, because then you got 40 points extra. Okay. Then I got fed up with Tarzan swing. I had about 30 seconds more left because that instructor will keep telling you the time. So what I did, I went to the vertical rope. Now, vertical rope, it's quite tough, because when you're done lot of rope exercises, your arms goes weak. It's quite natural because you want some time to recoup yourself. So what happened was that I climbed up half because it's about 6 meters. It's pretty high. So they put a ribbon, red ribbon on top. You have to touch that red ribbon and come down. That's what it is. So I climbed half, and honestly, let me admit, I just couldn't move up because my both arms were, totally gone. Now I had a lot of points, because I had completed it. I did a lot of thousand swings where I got extra points. So I felt like coming down. But then, something came into my mind. Oh, come on, you are a good athlete, you are a good swimmer, you are a good coconut tree climber, and still you can't do this. So somehow I pulled myself, huffed and puffed, and somewhat managed to reach and touch that red ribbon. You won't believe, I only knew that I've touched it. After that, I came, just came down like this. My complete elbow, got injured with scratches. And luckily, they had that first aid, so they came and gave me the first aid. Okay, so that was all. But you won't believe, I didn't know anything about it at that time. But later, when I was a captain in the army, and one of my colleague was working, posted in the SSB board, Service Election Board, then I came to know that if I would have not done that one single vertical rope at the end, I would not have been selected. They are not interested how many scores you have. They are only interested in that officer like qualities. How are you approaching a difficult moment? How are you going to get over that? Do you have the willpower? Do you have the grit? Do you have the perseverance to do that? And thank God, if I would have missed that out, I would be a civilian only. I would not have gone to the army. So this was one of that, example for my, that mental toughness or perseverance I had, or resolve, whatever you can call. And finally, out of 49 in our batch, we four got through, and out of four, we have to undergo a 1 week medical. Medical means it's very tough, complete body. They will go through your complete body because medical, they will not take a chance. So your respiratory system, your heart, your angles, your joints, everything will be seen by the specialist. And out of four, we two got through, two were rejected in the medicals also. So that is how our journey began. And I came back because that time there was no information. They said, we will intimate you once the merit list is made by the UPSC as per the availability of the vacancy. I said, fine. 1 month gone, 2 months gone, 3 months gone, nothing happened. So I said, it is gone. So I started going back to the auditing again, which I didn't like at all, but I didn't have any other choice. So finally, after 3 months, in the month of January in 1984, again, the postman came with a letter registered. So I got it, I opened it. So it was a pleasant surprise that I have been selected to join the Indian Military Academy, IMA, in Dehradun. But when I saw the letter, it was not a pleasant surprise because I was asked to join 5 days before, because I got this registered letter, reached me 5 days after the joining period. So I said, what do I do now? So, and when I gone through it, I found that they've asked for the degree certificate. If the degree certificate is not there, minimum provisional certificate should be there. And our great Calicut University, they never used to issue the certificates for 2 to 3 years because it was a huge university with 7 districts, okay, starting from Thrissur to Kasaragod. So finally, I didn't know what to do. I was in a shock, because getting a job was something you were looking for. I picked up, whatever I had in a small cloth bag, went to Thrissur, from there picked up a transport bus and gone to the university. First time entering the university, okay, because we are so far away from the university, we never used to go to the university. So I went to the registrar office. So a security person was standing, an attendant was standing. So I told him this is the requirement. So he said, please put up an application. So I wrote in a normal white sheet paper an application to the registrar requesting for the provisional certificate. And what happened? He said, okay, give it at the desk and come after 1 month. 1 month? I said, I require it now because I'm already late by 5 days. I'll take another 4 to 5 days to reach Dehradun because I can go only via Delhi. And that time only Jayanti Janata Express was there, which used to take you after 3 days and another 1 day to Dehradun. So he started laughing. And honestly, I felt like I am on a beachfront near the sea. The water, the sea wave has started, hitting my feet, and that sand below your feet start, washing away. That was the feeling I had because, you are somewhere nearer to a job and now they are saying that they can't even give you a certificate. I didn't, just in that, intuition or whatever you can say, I just ran into the office of registrar. And you will not believe the security man was running behind me, holding my shirt. Luckily, the registrar saw me. I said, good morning, sir. Then he just told the security to leave me. So he was telling, sir, I told him not to enter. He has, trespassed into your office. So he just looked at me, the registrar. I just took this envelope and shown this letter, sir, this is life and death for me. I have to join. I've already got this late by 5 days. If I don't get the provisional certificate, there was no question that I can go. You will not believe in the history of Calicut University. He called that PA, his PA, the personal assistant, and dictated him for the provisional certificate. And you won't believe, in 15 minutes, I got the provisional certificate. From there, I picked it up. Now I have to go because I have to take the permission of my mother. Because after father's death, we were attached like this. Even in college, I used to sleep with her. Okay, that was the attachment we had. And I was the youngest son, So I straight away went to Kollam, Karunagapalli, because my brother was working there. So my only hope was my brother because he can at least come with me and convince my mother. So I reached very late night to Karunagapalli. So night only, I've just shown him the letter. He was very happy because he was an NCC cadet. So he knew the importance of army. He has attended camps and firing and things like that. So next day, early morning, we took, because now the first thing we have to book the ticket, isn't it? Otherwise, how do you go? And we couldn't even imagine of going by plane at that time because it was too expensive. So next day morning, he took his Lambi Bajaj scooter and I sat behind. So he had about 500 rupees with him. When I was closing the gate, my sister-in-law came out. You carry this 500 more because you're going for something important. So I took that 500, kept it in my pocket, and I sat behind the scooter of my brother. We went to Kollam station. Now, Kollam station also had one counter, waited for 2 hours, 3 hours. Finally, when my turn came, we said, we want to go to Delhi. He said, there is no ticket, everything is full. So we were lost again. What do you do now? Already 5 days, 6 days late now. And we were just, walking over the, and you won't believe this person on the counter, reservation counter, he called us by showing the hand. So we ran towards him. He said, there is one cancellation. Are you interested? Now I'm telling the difference now. In the present high-tech world, there is no relation, there is no intimacy. But that time, we had that man-to-man or human-to-human relations. That was the difference. Otherwise, why should he bother to call us? So, but when I checked it, it was not a normal second sleeper seat. It was a second AC. And you know what was the cost that time? 686 rupees. So if my sister-in-law would not have given me that 500 rupees extra, we would have come back. Because in 500, you can't buy a ticket of 686. Okay. So luckily, I was feeling guilty because, going in a second AC, but my brother said, just it's okay, we go. So we picked up the ticket and we together, and we given the boarding from Thrissur, and we picked up a transport bus from Karnapalli to Triprayar. Now I left the show to my brother. Brother went to my mom and told this what it is. So she just couldn't take it. She started crying, because her own brother, who was a doctor, has joined the Army Medical Corps in Second World War during British time. So he had, initially they're given a telegram saying that he's dead, but he had a wonderful comeback after 10 months, walking from Malaya to Burma, from Burma to Nagaland, Nagaland to Assam, Assam to Bengal, and from Bengal he picked up a train and came in 1942. So that was the state that time. So my mother was very afraid of army, because his own brother, her own brother. So finally, I still remember what my brother told my mother. If I tell you in Malayalam, he said that Nisar oru kenattile tavalalle umma. He is a frog in the well. Let him go out and see the place. So that is how, finally my mother gave the permission. And of course, I was also in tears, and I landed up in Indian Military Academy. By the time 10 days were over. Okay. And I came out around 5:30 in the morning at Dehradun station. It was so bloody cold because it was January, almost 3 degrees there. And you know what I was wearing? A normal half shirt and one flannelette on top. That's all. Because they have written in the letter, white shoes, white shorts, white shirts, all those, and personal woolens. But I didn't know what was personal woolens because we never used woolens in Kerala that time. So I didn't know. I didn't buy. And when I got up in the morning, I found that small cup of tea, which they put ilaichi in it, cardamom. And that was something like, on top of the world in that early morning when it is so cold, you sip that tea. Oh, it was something like, nirvana. Okay. And finally, I was looking because in the letter they said they have a reception center. People will be there to, receive you. I didn't find anything on the platform. I said, what happened? So it was early morning. Nobody was there. The shops are only opening up. Finally, I started walking on the platform and I saw an office, MCO, Movement Control Officer. Okay. That is for the army because they used to take care of the movement of the troops. And when I asked them, oh, Sato, wo to khatam ho gaya. It's all over because they have already wound up last week because it's 10 days now. So there is no point going there because the training has already started. So I felt that as if my life has come to an end. After so much of barriers and difficulties and problems, when I reached there, they're saying that, it's not required now. Finally, I waited there and there was a 3-ton vehicle came from IMA, Indian Military Academy, which was about 10 kilometers from the station. So I shown this letter to the driver. He again said, "Baith jao." And I took my trunk and put it in the 3-ton and climbed from behind and reached there. So at the gate only, I've shown the letter. So I was given permission to enter. And I saw the administrative office, that's the Chetwood building, that old building of Britishers' time. So it was very cold. Early morning, the wind was blowing. So I was just standing because waiting for the office to open because it was still 7:45, 8 o'clock the office opens. So one gentleman, a tall gentleman was coming from the other side. He saw me the way I was standing. He took his coat and put it on me. I didn't know. I didn't know. Later, I came to know he was a senior who was 6 months senior to me. Some of the names you will never forget. Colonel Sanjeev Parashar. He was a good basketball player, you know, and he has shown me what is empathy. I didn't know. But now, when I recall, I find that that was actual empathy. He got into my shoes by taking his own coat and giving it to me. That was it. And finally, when the office opened, they said that you're already late. We take people only up to 7 days. After that, training is not possible for you to complete the training. Because it is a very tough and difficult training for 1.5 years, 3 semesters. So I took that envelope with me, that on IGS envelope. So if you remember, the seal of Peringotigara post office was there, and the date given is very clearly visible. So I could show them that I received this letter 5 days after the joining time. So that captain who was in charge, who was the platoon commander, he told just write a application, and I wrote application. He recommended it, and it went to the major company commander. From there to the battalion commander, the colonel, and from there to the deputy commandant, because it is much beyond their power. Because it's already that ruling letter says that 7 days only you can join. And finally went up to the commandant, lieutenant general, and finally he approved it as a special case because it was not my fault. But with the rider saying that you have to pass all the drill physical test in 10 days time. If you don't pass it, then you will have to go back. And thereafter, I was in the hands of the instructors and my seniors. I mean, day in and night, you are doing only training. After lunch, after dinner, early morning, every day. And they ensured that I passed all the tests. And that is how my dream of becoming an army officer became a true reality. Even now, when I recall, after almost 37 years, I still can't believe it even now. Okay. So then after the training, we became second lieutenant with 1 star on your shoulders. You were class 1 guested officers. And I was posted to 4 Kumau regiment, which was infantry regiment. Namada Kalal Pada. And I was posted to Uttarakhand. That time it was UP because Uttarakhand state came later. And a place called Ranikhet, a beautiful hill station at about 6,000 feet high, lower Himalayas. And the battalion, I was the only Malayali, I was the only Muslim. Out of 868 people, all were North Indians. Okay. So that is the way we started our life, in a place 3,000 kilometers away from your house, and you knew nobody. But that became your family, joint family later. You're part and parcel of that battalion later. So my biggest drawback was when I was selected for the commando course, I got injured. I lost my first rib. I lost 2 nerve conductors, T1 and T2 ganglions. I had undergone a major surgery in Pune Commando Hospital. And finally, I was downgraded medically. And after 6.5 years in 4 Kumau Regiment, I was thrown out from there to logistics branch because of my medical category. So that was again a heartbreak where you have settled down with such wonderful boys from the hills, such attachment, such bondage, such camaraderie, esprit de corps. And finally, you are told that go out now. And I joined ASC, Army Service Corps. which used to take care of your transportation, supplies, animal transport, air maintenance, fuel, everything. So it is something like restarting. After the surgery, it took 1.5 years for my rehabilitation. I couldn't lift my right hand. But through rigorous physiotherapy exercises, and that time you are young, you are a young captain. And that's how I got back and started rebuilding or restarting my journey in the army. And finally, after 32 and a half years, I retired as the Director of Defense Security Corps from Jabalpur, Central India, Madhya Pradesh. Just 3-4 points I want to combine during my tenure so that, it had some of the qualities. Like when I was training the men, one day we have to cross from the border to this side, practice in the night. There is a ditch come bunk, which is made over the Jammu border. It has got about, 20 to 40 feet width and 6 to 7 feet of water. And in the night, in the cold, you have to cross over with your weapon, everything. So one of my boy, who was a non-swimmer, but when I led from the front, he also walked behind. He got drowned. And finally, we have to take him in the night to the military hospital, Jammu, and save his life. But the point I want to bring is the trust that boy had in me, because I have shown my example by leading from the front. I was the first person to cross the river. Okay, so he followed. Though otherwise in civil, you ask a non-swimmer to cross, will he cross? He will not cross. But here, the bondage was something different. Because you give an order from the front, he will follow you. That is the difference. The second point I want to bring out is, when I was commanding the battalion, in the army, discipline is very, very tough and strict. So whenever the commanding officer's office, anybody enters, they will never sit. Okay, when the men, that sepoys and lance naik and naiks and subedas, whoever comes. But I said, he's also a human being. So I started making them sit. So they never used to sit. Then I used to stand up. Okay, then when the CO is standing, naturally they have no choice but to sit. So that was the first change I brought in this army. That be humane to a person, have the humility. He's also a human being. And thereafter, we used to have an interview procedure, whenever somebody has to go on leave, somebody has to go on a course, go on a duty, he has to undergo a proper interview next day morning in uniform, number 1 uniform. So I realized that so many cases where in the night they get a information through a telegram that father is sick, mother is sick, or somebody is not well, somebody's marriage, some function. They have to wait the whole night till the next day morning. I said, why should you do that? So this is our procedure. I said, what bloody procedure? This is the procedure made by the British, isn't it? And I started the telephonic interview. I said, just pick up the phone, speak to me. There was no mobile that time, but we had that internal phones within the battalion. So I used to send that person the same night, because otherwise the whole night he's under tension. Because till the time next day morning interview is not over, he can't go. So that was the second change what we tried out, and it worked out wonderfully well. Then we had a system of dining in, welcoming the officers who come to the battalion. Why not the men? Because they are the main people. We are there because of them. So we started a club where every month we used to dine in the new posting in people and dine out welfare to the people who are going out. So they felt so happy. They are also part and parcel of the battalion. And after that, whatever you tell them, work will be done, whether it is 2 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. That was the difference, because you are part and parcel of that big joint family of 876 people. That is the difference. Okay. Another point, when I came as director recruiting in Amritsar in Punjab, they used to conduct recruitment rallies every month or every 3 months for taking people to the army. And we used to have district wise rallies, one day, one district. So we used to have 7, 8 districts. So we used to complete by 10 days. Now I found that there are a lot of problems because 10, 15,000 people come on a day and we can't manage the show. They used to have, accidents, the stampede. So finally we thought that why don't you break this recruitment into more number of days by making it tehsils. So when I given this projection or proposal, it was turned down by the director general. I said, sir, please come here and see, watch yourself. Let us see how does it go. And finally, that Sardar came over all the way from Delhi, and we carried out a recruitment rally in Amritsar, Punjab. And, tehsil wise, we could comfortably manage because 3,000, 4,000 people used to come. So the whole day, we can complete the run, we can complete the medical test, the height, weight, chest, everything used to be done. And he was so happy. After that, he's given an order to all other recruitment zone, conduct tehsil wise rallies. So this was an innovation we tried out and it worked wonderfully well. Okay. So finally, I bid my uniform way back in 2016, and I came to the civil street, which life was something like night and day. There we used to think in the mind, and the work will be done. But in civil, you go to a village office or a panchayat office or a collector office, nothing will move. From one table to the other, it used to take 1 week, and you have to give money. So it was really shocking in the first 1 year for me to adjust. Okay, but you have no choice. You are no more army man. You are a veteran now. So finally, I got adjusted to that. I had a wonderful experience in E3 theme parks in Wayanad, a new natural park. And after 2 years, I completed the project, came down to Safi, where we are into education. And one more thing I want to highlight before I wind up, because already late. After the retirement, I got into a different world, that is yoga, meditation, and pranayama. First, I cleared my level 1 instructor from Department of Vice Government of India. Then level 2, and last month I cleared my level 3 as a teacher, yoga teacher, and evaluator. So that was a totally different world altogether, where I could, had hundreds of sessions with school children, college children, the corporate people, the 5 a.m. club, Calicut Management Association, Suraj Dam, so many organizations. And that gave me so much of satisfaction. And during the lockdown period, I said, it's high time. Then I started this small videos on yoga. I put about 100 plus in the YouTube now. And when you get a call from Australia or UK or Canada, they are asking, what can you do for back pain? What can you do for the cervical issue? You felt so happy, I've been thousands of kilometers away. And I feel so much of contentment in giving something to them. And I know I don't take any single penny from anybody. But that happiness, you can't go to Big Bazaar and buy it. Okay, you have to get it from here. There is no other place. And another major decision in the family life, I was used to be a strict disciplinarian, tough as far as timings are concerned. So my wife used to always have a tough time. Okay. So I realized that, I've been pushing her unnecessarily. She's a different person. I'm a different person. She's an artist. I'm a sports fan. How do I expect her to walk with me or come for a playing, come for games? No, it's not workable. So I left it. Live and let live. I started practicing agree to disagree. And life has become wonderful. I'm in my comfort zone. She's in her comfort zone. And, peace and happiness at home. We unnecessarily keep troubling your partner for nothing, want to get them to your viewpoint. It can never happen. You can only change yourself. You can't change anybody else. So with that, I wind up for the evening. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a wonderful time. Be happy wherever you are. Nothing else matters. One day we have to leave this world. We came empty handed, we will go empty handed. Whatever you are, whoever you are. So enjoy your today. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow never comes. So have a wonderful time. God bless and Jai Hind.